all probably familiar with Clubhouse, and I'm on there, and they talking about black men, beta this, alpha this, and a brother gets on there and he says, "Listen, I'm an alpha male because I got my own business. I take care of my family. And if you're a man that has to clock in, meaning you have to clock in for the white man, then you are a beta male." This is something that in the black community, you hear this a lot. You hear this. I've even heard black women say that they're alpha women, which is ridiculous when you actually figure out what it comes from. When you learn all of this comes from, it doesn't even make any sense, right? So what the brother was saying, what he basically was saying, listen, I take care of my family. I got a house in America. I don't live in America no more. I don't answer to no one. I don't have to clock in when they say clock in. I don't have to move when somebody says move. And because of that, I'm an alpha male. Now, if you're a black man that you got to clock in and you have to go to work and you have to be there at a certain time, then you're a beta male. And of course, brothers that was in there was, they was hot. They wanted to get at him. And he also said, well, if you upset at what I'm saying, that makes you a beta male also. And I'm like, okay. So if a man goes to work, he clocks in, he's not a real man anymore. Like, people got to make up their mind. It used to be that if a man wasn't there, if he wasn't, in the lives of his kids, he wasn't a real man. If he didn't get a job, he wasn't a real man. Now a man that has a job and clocks in, now he's not a real man. It's so many philosophies and ideologies that black people follow that make no damn sense at all. Like, just to say that, and I don't think people really were thinking on the platform, because it's like, that would mean that, what about all the brothers that came before us? What about all the brothers that invented things? What about doctors? What about lawyers? What about inventors? What about people that have high positions that have to clock in somewhere? They're not a man anymore because they clocking in, and they have to, clock in at a certain time, and they have to follow rules. Whereas somebody that owns their own business, like this brother was saying, he does what he wants to do. And so he's an alpha male. And he kept comparing it to being in nature. He was comparing it to the animal kingdom. And I was like, what the hell is this brother talking about? But, at the same time, a lot of black people think like that. You hear that conversation a lot, especially with the relationship thing that's going on right now, where they say alpha male is this. This is what he'll do. He'll protect, he'll provide, he'll do all of these things. And the beta male, he might do them, he play video games. He's not exactly an alpha male, and there's a difference. But this is the philosophy of alpha, beta even come from. So if you do your research, it actually comes from Greece. So in the 1970s, there was a white man that did studies on wolves. So when he did these studies on the wolves, that's how he came with the alpha thing. Because, wolves run in the pack. And then you have a wolf that might be the leader of the pack. And that's where this whole thing comes from. But check this out, what he said. So David Meck introduced the idea of the alpha to describe behavior observed in captive animals. Keyword captive animals. Alphas, he wrote in his 1970 book, The Wolf: Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species, win control of their packs in violent fights with other males. But as he outlined in a 1999 paper, he's since rejected that idea in light of research into the behavior of wolves in the wild. And let me just go a little bit more into it. This is what he also said. The concept of the alpha wolf is well ingrained in the popular wolf literature, at least partly because of my book. Now, this is that same man. Partly because of my book, The Wolf: Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species, written in 1968 and published in 1970, republished in paperback in 1981, and currently still in print. Despite my numerous pleas to the publisher to stop publishing it. So he wanted them to stop publishing his book about alpha males or alpha wolves because he realized it was wrong. I'm gonna keep reading. Although most of the book's info is still accurate, much is outdated. We have learned more about wolves in the last 40 years than in all previous history. One of the outdated pieces of information is the concept of the alpha wolf. Alpha implies competing with others and becoming the top dog by winning a contest or battle. However, most wolves who lead packs achieve their position simply by mating and producing pups, which then became their pack. The man who came with the notion of alpha, as far as in animals, he rejected that theory, took it back. He took it back, right? For somehow, some weird way, people kept pushing it and put it on humans when it wasn't even real in the animal kingdom. This whole philosophy and ideology comes from a European man. It comes from a people that ain't even black. And better yet, the man himself rejected. He was upset that this theory, the book that he published, was still being published. He wanted them to stop because he had learned different things, and it not necessarily meant that alpha is a man that just takes control of his territory. He fights other men. He fights he rises to the top. He's the cream of the crop just because he's an alpha. No, that wasn't it. He found out that they just get to the top just by having pups.
Fatality.
Which shatters the idea of this alpha a beta whole theology that we got in the black community. It's just stupid and it's silly for black people to even think like that. European theology and making those relationship standards are ways to look for a mate, ways to look for a man. I want an alpha man, a beta man. And you hear this get thrown around all the time. And it just shows you how ignorant, how uninformed, and how silly we as black people can be. And we be really going hard in it. We push a lot of standards on one another that aren't even real. But yeah, man, when it comes to this alpha, this beta, and we use it or we personify it to put it on human beings or act like there's a type of human being. Well, the man I just showed you that created that whole thing said it's not real, it's fake.